Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. I'm trying to hit 100k subscribers on this channel, so your subscription would be much appreciated. We're a little bit less than 5,000 away, so that would be great. Also, go check out the shoot around on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, all that kind of stuff, all kinds of audio platforms. We are finally on there. You texted me in the middle of the video, Rudy. Yeah, go check that out, and we're going live at least once a week, either on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, depending on when we want to get our stuff together. So go check out the podcast channel. Anywho, let's talk about Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns, because I went to see his debut for Phoenix in Charlotte. He had like 22, 24 points or something like that. And of course, I also saw him and the Suns beat the Chicago Bulls, ironically in a game where it seemed like Josh Okogie was the standout. But I just wanted to talk about what Durant has looked like on the Phoenix Suns so far. I did not watch the Suns-Mavericks game. I believe that was probably his best performance of the entire, his time with the Suns thus far, so can't speak to that. But for the other two games I wanted to talk about, just kind of what I've seen with him in Phoenix and why it is entirely unfair. And I guess I'll open with the game in Charlotte. I'll be completely transparent. Half of the reason that I wanted to do this is so that I can get a tax write-off for my ticket, because this is my job and I'm talking about Kevin Durant. He was pretty passive the whole way through. You could tell he was definitely not entirely sure of himself, still trying to figure out his place in the offense. Of course, he didn't have a training camp with them. He doesn't know the playbook off the top of his head. There's really not enough time to learn a team's entire playbook in such a short span of time. So it was really just him feeling out the spots where he could be effective, and really just, you know, when it was time for an ISO bucket, they were like, okay, KD, go do your thing. Where he most did his thing and looked the most comfortable was the start of the fourth quarter. If Rudy could put it on screen, I would appreciate that. His buckets in the fourth quarter of that game at the very start, he was just hitting mid-range shot after mid-range shot after mid-range shot after mid-range shot, all of them with not bad defense, and it became very clear that he is, you know, a cheat code basketball-wise. I've seen Kevin Durant live one other time, and it was in Brooklyn, or no, it was in Milwaukee, Brooklyn versus the Bucks in Game 4 of the 2021. Was it the second round of the conference finals? I can't remember, but that game was the worst game that Kevin Durant had in that entire series, and he was really not getting to his spots like he'd like to, so that was a little bit of a disappointment. This time, I got to see the real magic of Kevin Durant in person, and it is that magic, what he brings to the table as just with his shot creation and all that, that really makes Phoenix look terrifying, because while they did not necessarily have an issue in the shot-making department, because of course Devin Booker is one of the best shot creators in all of basketball, of course. It really felt like created offense, other than like the occasional Chris Paul pick and roll, because he's not been the same this year. It just wasn't coming easy to them. And of course, Kevin Durant is known for making the game look comically easy and just getting buckets like it means nothing. And of course, I'm not breaking any new ground here by saying that Kevin Durant hitting difficult shots or creating a ton of offense is what he brings to a team, but really it's the area with the Phoenix Suns that I feel like they are now so stacked in the shot creation department with him and Booker on the same team that it's quite terrifying, and it really is a cheat code, like I mentioned earlier. To have two players who can just kind of get whatever shot they want at really any given moment is an extreme luxury, but Phoenix also has enough of a system. They have a good enough coach. They have Chris Paul's playmaking. They have DeAndre Ayton's ability as hit with his role within the offense, his short mid-range shots, as a roll man, all that kind of stuff, post play every once in a while. That there's still a lot of dynamicism, if I'm saying that word correctly. There's a lot of dynamics to that offense, even after, you know, the focus on the simplicity of having these crazy shot creators. So there's a lot to the offense, and it's not relying upon that shot creation. Like, this is a thing that I talk about all the time with the Clippers. Like, my big issue with them, it really seems like there's just very little offensive set to what they're doing, and it would just be Kawhi and PG take turns doing ISO ball and hitting tough shots. And they're so good at that theoretically you can win games doing that. But difficult shot making should not really be the foundation of your offense. You should have plays, you should have sets that get you easy offense, and the ability to hit a difficult shot will be then valuable and important, but it's not, you know, how do I put this? It's not the foundation of the offense. It's an extra thing that allows you to elevate to an even further degree rather than the foundation of the offense. With Phoenix, it felt like Devin Booker just doing everything and hitting ridiculous shots was becoming the foundation of that offense, but they still had some of the dynamics. And now, because you have this player who is, in my opinion, the second greatest scorer of all time, and you have the dynamic of what he brings to the table in terms of attention to the defense, that now frees up Devin Booker to have a lot easier of a time, and it pretty much frees up everybody. Like DeAndre Ayton kind of feasted in that Hornets game for a little bit because he was just open on the short roll all the time because Kevin Durant is a huge threat. Devin Booker out there, huge threat. And when this trade went down, I was pretty much like, yeah, DeAndre Ayton is just going to get a bunch of probably 4 free baskets a game now because of this trade, and he definitely got quite a few in that game. The Bulls game is kind of a blur to me because I was so annoyed with the team after, unfortunately, having a level of false hope because they played really well leaving the All-Star break, but I think they've returned back to the mean. But it was the same thing. There were some easy opportunities for DeAndre Ayton. Like I mentioned, weirdly, Josh Okogie got a bunch of shots. Part of that is, you know, the Bulls and any team is like, okay, Josh Okogie, shoot if you want to, but there were just, it's the gravity concept, right? Having these dynamic scorers, having now 2 of them, having one of the best all time and someone who will probably go down as one of the best all time in that department, and that system makes this offense terrifying. And then defensively, yeah, Kevin Durant's not going to bring to the table what both Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson brought, but I honestly didn't get the impression that this was going to be a bad defense. I don't know that they're necessarily going to be a particularly great one. It's not off of the table, and I don't think that it's a given that their defense is going to take some big hit, and even if it does, the offense is going to be overwhelming. Now, I guess I can quickly talk about this at the end, although I do plan on making a main channel video that's a little bit more in depth than me just rambling to you. But in terms of their championship odds this year, if I'm a betting man, I'm gonna say that, like, you know, a mid-season trade historically does not always work, as I also say immediately following that, but this is Kevin Durant, who is easily the biggest mid-season acquisition in the history of basketball, so anything is possible. But where this team scares me is not this year. This is probably the year where you can feel okay, but next year, especially if Chris Paul doesn't take a significant dip next year, and especially if this team can round out this bench with some more defensive guys and all that, they might be my title favorite, because seeing an offense that can just get a good shot every time, that's a recipe for success. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Kevin Durant and the Suns, just my first impression. Also, if any of this was a little vague, again, the Bulls game, my memory is kind of hazy, and for some reason I've always felt that, like, being in person for games makes it harder to analyze them than watching it on TV. But yeah, anyways, that is it. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, and goodbye.